I'm going to show you how to use the Charge Blade in Monster Hunter Wilds. The Charge Blade has two main forms, Sword and Shield mode and Axe mode. Your Axe mode is going to be the majority of your damage. Sword and Shield mode you use to charge up your weapon in order to do more damage in Axe mode. So when you're in Sword and Shield mode, any attacks that you do with your sword are going to charge up your sword. You can see at the top left of my screen, after I've attacked a bit, the phials are glowing yellow. This means I have enough energy to store 3 phials. If I keep attacking, then they'll turn red. Once they turn red, that means I have enough energy to store 5 phials. Once you have energy stored up, you just need to hold your guard button, which is right trigger on an Xbox controller. And from here, you can either tap B, and that is going to store energy into your phials, or if you hold down B, that's actually going to store energy into your shield. And you can see when you put energy into your shield is going to be glowing. Having energy in your shield is going to just make your axe attacks do more damage for a period of time. Having energy in your shield is going to make your axe attacks do more damage, as well as opening up new combos and opening up Savage Axe form, which I'll go over last. And the other thing you can do with energy charge is that you can charge your phials. Do this just by holding your shield up and then tapping B instead of holding it. If you charge your phials and you want to charge your shield, it's no big deal. Just hold your shield up and then hold B down and the phial charge will go into your shield. Now that we have our shield charged and we have phial charges, we're going to start going into axe form. You can do this by either guarding and then pressing Y or triangle, or alternatively jumping off of a ledge and pressing your guard button. Being in axe form opens up new attacks as well as the elemental discharges. Elemental discharges are going to use your phials that you have stored up to do extra damage as well as stun enemies. You'll see a new combo list come up also while you're in axe stance, and you can press B to do a normal elemental discharge, or Y and B at the same time to do an amped elemental discharge. Any of these elemental discharge attacks are going to use your phials and do more damage and stun enemies. Then there is another attack that you can do, which is your strongest attack, called Super Amped Elemental Discharge. In order to do this, you need to have your shield charged up. So if you charge your shield, and then you also get some phials, you can go into axe mode. And all you need to do for this is press Y and B at the same time, then press Y and B at the same time again, and that does a super amped elemental discharge. And this super amped elemental discharge is going to release all your phials at the same time, and is your strongest attack that you can do. So you can potentially charge up 10 phials and then use them all just in super amped elemental discharge, which can be hard to hit. But something to make it easier to hit is that you can hold your left trigger and go into focus mode, and then turn while you're doing it. So if I'm using my amped elemental discharge or super amped elemental discharge, I can just be holding left trigger, and then with my right joystick, I can be turning, and that will allow me to make sure that I hit my attacks. The final form of Charge Blade is Savage Axe mode, and there are 2 ways that you can get into Savage Axe mode. The first is by performing a perfect block and going into axe mode right after you perform a perfect block. If you want to practice this in training mode, you can press your start button and go to training settings. Then go to select mode, smash mode, and apply changes. That'll make this little arm go up and down, and you can block on it. So if my shield is glowing and I hit a perfect guard on this, then go directly into axe mode. Then I'll get to Savage Axe mode. And while you're in Savage Axe mode, your attacks are going to do more damage, and you can also hold down the button of your attacks to make them do multiple hits. And a lot of your attacks in Savage Axe mode are going to do multiple hits if you hold down the button you're attacking with. On top of that, if you do something like your amped elemental discharge with Y and B at the same time, you're going to be using less phials than you normally would. You can see that just took a half of a phial there. And again, I'm holding down the button so I get multiple hits with this Savage Axe mode. Super amped elemental discharge is still going to use all of your phials, so I'd recommend using this at the end of your Savage Axe mode when it's about to run out, because otherwise your Savage Axe mode sustains phials really well. You can also go back to Sword and Shield mode as long as the axe icon is glowing at the top left, and get your phials back. Then go right back into Savage Axe mode. And it's still active as long as that icon is glowing at the top left. So you have a pretty big window to actually use Savage Axe after you've initially made it happen. And finally, the second way to get to Savage Axe mode is that if an enemy has a wound on it, you can go into focus mode and then press right bumper to do your focus slash. This is going to take you into Savage Axe mode, as well as charge up a lot of your phials. You want to be doing both of these methods as often as you can, so you can keep your Savage Axe mode up as often as possible. So an overview of what this will be like in actual combat is you'll be doing things like fighting in Sword and Shield mode, using your B attack, your Sword Fade Slash, to change where you are around the enemy and dodge attacks, as well as rolling when you need to. And you're just going to be charging up your phials. Once you have your phials red the first time, you're going to charge them into your shield by holding up your shield and then holding down B. Then you're just going to continue charging phials. And once you have your phials charged, you're going to go in axe mode. And then you're going to use your elemental discharges. Use super amped elemental discharge when an enemy is down or staggered. And mixed in with all of this, you're going to be looking for wounds on enemies, going into focus mode, and then using your focus slash so that you can charge your phials and get into Savage Axe mode. Trying to be in Savage Axe mode as often as you possibly can. And occasionally while you have Savage Axe mode up, you're going to switch to Sword and Shield, and you're going to charge up your phials so that you can make use of them in Savage Axe mode. And again, you can get into that Savage Axe mode by performing a perfect block on an enemy attack with your normal shield guard, on top of doing your focus attack on a wounded part of an enemy. And that is it.